Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me today for this brief yoga practice. Today we're just going to focus on the feet. Sometimes we don't pay enough attention to our feet. We're going to strengthen our feet, stretch our feet, and hopefully we'll end up with happy feet. So you might have your feet in this position, sort of like a butterfly pose, Baddha Konasana. This might be most accessible. And we're just going to start to massage our feet. So notice how your feet feel. Using your thumbs on the maybe soles of your feet, maybe squeezing your toes a little bit, whatever would feel good. Using your thumbs or fingers and pressing onto the soles of your feet, the arches, the heels, just sort of feeling around for any sore areas, tender areas. Just give your feet a little self-massage and notice how that feels. Giving your feet some love. Do whatever feels appropriate for your feet, whatever you like. Maybe giving the toes a little squeeze. Maybe each toe, just giving them a little extra love and attention. And then bring your knees back up. And we're going to get a little bit into the ankles first. We're going to rotate the ankles. You can do this either laying down or seated if you prefer. So you could be seated here, maybe using your hands to hold your knee, and you could just rotate your ankle one leg like this. You could also lay down if you prefer. You might be down on your mat, something in this position, sort of like a modified constructive rest. And I'm just going to sit up for this one because it's easier for me to talk. And rotate your ankle the other way. Notice how that feels. And then point and flex through that foot. And release that foot. And come to the other side. Switch sides. Again, bending that other knee towards you. Rotate that ankle. Notice how that feels. And then reverse direction. And release. We're going to come to a kneeling position. And we're going to come into actually the position I'm in now, just about, but have a block or a blanket handy. And we're going to start with our feet fairly close together and make sure your toes are all going in the same direction. Sometimes those pinky toes get sort of stuck. And then slowly start to lower your knees to the mat. Now, if this is just like, oh my gosh, excruciasana, then you might need a block or a blanket under your knees. So you might lift your knees up, maybe try a blanket, and put your knees down on the blanket. See if that's doable to hold for a few breaths. If not, you might need to position the blanket, double it, especially if you don't have any blocks, or place a block under your knees. So either a blanket or a block might look like this, either on the medium or low setting, so that you can be in this position. It might be uncomfortable in your feet. This is wonderful for the feet and ankles. And eventually, if you do this regularly, you'll be able to lower the knees to the mat. And then you would stay here for just as long as feels appropriate to you. Initially, it might only be a few seconds. When I first did this, I was just like, oh, yeah, this is torture. But now I've gotten used to it. My feet are stronger. They're actually enjoying this stretch. It is a great stretch for the feet, for the plantar fascia at the bottom of your feet. This helps to keep that fascia healthy. So if you have issues with that, you might want to do this on a regular basis. So hold here again only as long as feels appropriate to you. Work up time until you feel you can hold here for maybe 30 seconds, maybe a minute, something like that. You could stay longer if you want. And then if there's any props under your knees, lift your knees up first, remove those props, and then hands in front of you, release those feet. Oh, that should feel pretty good. And then just sort of give your feet a little flapping on the mat. That should feel pretty good too. And then sit your hips back towards your heels. Make sure this feels okay. Just notice sensation in your feet. And then we're going to come to standing. So you might place blocks under your hands. Step one foot forward and then the other. And just come into a forward fold. You might pause initially first at the halfway point. Maybe lift your toes and lower them back down. Notice how those toes feel. And just getting into the legs a little bit, hinging from your hip crease, coming into your Uttanasana, your forward fold. Coming into your long spine position, forward fold. You might bend your knees a little or a lot. Notice those feet and notice your legs. Notice your breath. And then inhale, come up halfway. Pause for a moment. And then bend your knees, bring your hands onto your thighs, and slowly come up to standing. Come into mountain pose. You might lift your toes, spread those toes wide, and try to lower them down from the pinky toe, the next toe, the middle toe, the second toe, and the big toe. Maybe do that again. Lift your toes, spread your toes wide, and lower them down one at a time. Press down into your feet, grounding into the earth, mountain pose. Lift your inner arches as you hug your outer ankles in. Notice how that stabilizes your feet. And take the front of your thighs slightly back as you ground your sits bones towards the earth. Gently lengthen through your spine. And as you ground down through your feet, reach up energetically through the crown of your head. Steady as a mountain. And then relax. So now we're going to do some heel raises. You might want a wall or maybe something else that's stable, like a chair or a counter nearby, so that you can hold on to it for a little support. So again, always listen to your body. If this is too much, just do the modified variation that we'll start with. Listen to your body. So to start, you may not need the wall for this one. Lift up one heel, surround the ball of the foot, and lower it down. Lift your other heel up and lower it down. If that felt okay, then try this one, sort of like a prancing motion. Lift one heel up, and as you lower it, lift the other heel up. So you're alternating, activating the legs and the feet. So you're keeping the legs and feet engaged. And notice how this feels. Try to stay with control here. If you need to, fingertips on a wall or other support. and then lower the heels down. Now we're going to lift our heels up. Both heels come up, and then exhale, lower them down. Inhale, lift your heels, and exhale, lower down. Again, inhale, lift, and exhale, lower. Continuing, inhale, lift, and then lower. And then see if you can find a balance. So you might try away from the wall and see if you can lift those heels, arms where they make sense to you, maybe out to the side. Notice the challenge. If you have to lower the heels, that's okay. Come back and try again. Some days it's easier than others. And then lower your heels, bend your knees, and come into your chair pose. Arms out in front. Feel those calves. Notice your ankles. Weight is in your heels. Draw your belly in, weight in your heels. Toes might lift just slightly. And then come into that forward fold again. Keep your spine long. Oh, notice how that feels. Should get a nice stretch in the back of the legs. Notice your breath. Press into the balls of your feet. And then come up part way. Bend your knees. Hands may be on blocks. And then lower down onto one knee and then the other. And come back to a seat. You can set your blocks aside. Maybe sit on your blanket. Any comfortable seat, and just pause. Notice how you feel, even from that short practice. Remember to always appreciate your feet. And if you can, continue to honor your feet, take care of your feet, massage your feet, and do this practice as often as you can. Thank you for joining me today, and have a beautiful rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you next time on the mat. Thank you, everyone. Namaste.